Welcome to Plus Talk on Plus Life, where we're about turning positive into a plus. I'm joined today by our Lady J. She grew up on a farm in a village of 200 people, and now she's one of the hottest writers, producers in Hollywood, working on a show that is truly groundbreaking. And, well, you're a fool if you don't love it. Our Lady J, welcome to Plus Talk. Okay, let's jump straight to it. So, obviously, you are a person living with HIV, but how has HIV shaped who you are today?
A huge part of my journey. HIV has informed everything in my life, really. I transitioned after finding out I was positive. Within a year, I had started my physical transition because I had to go to therapy. I had to get healthy, and I found out in inspecting my mind, I found out who I really was, and I'm someone who operates at a higher vibration whenever I align with the feminine. And I had to get over my shame about being feminine and really lean into that if I were going to be healthy. And so, in the same way that I had to really explore what it means to have good mental health in order to have physical health, that mental health also that mental health journey also translated into my artistry. So it all stemmed from my diagnosis, really.
It's interesting. I think a lot of people feel this, and I certainly, and I've copped flack for it when I've said in the past, actually, HIV saved my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's true.
HIV
I
saved my
mean,
life, and also being a drug addict and alcoholic saved my life as well. Those things worked
yeah,
for me until they didn't work anymore. Um, yeah, I remember I went to GMHC the day after I found out I was positive, and the counselor, she looked at me and she said, "No, you might hate me for saying this right now, but this might be a gift." And I was like, "Yes, I do hate you for saying this right now." I didn't want to hear it, but I'll never forget that because I did learn to turn it into a gift.
yeah, I totally relate. So you've got this gift of music. Music's in your life. You're uber talented, and I can't even figure out how to put the spoons together in my fingers. Or to see me with chopsticks,
I'll teach you.
disaster. Thank you. Um, when does transparent come about? How does that all come about from the fact that you're a working musician or trying to be a working musician to then working on the Amazon hit Transparent?
I mean, it's a very long story. I'll give you the short version. I moved to LA in 2010 after having a really wonderful career in classical music. From I moved to New York in 2000, and so the first 5 years was really incredible. And then I transitioned in 2005 and lost most of my work. And as a freelance artist, no one ever tells you they don't want to work with you because you're trans. You just don't get hired back again. And so I found that a lot of my work was disappearing, even though my artistry was improving. I had more capacity to, I had more of a mental capacity to dedicate to my work because I wasn't so caught up in this question of identity. Once I really knew who I was and could lean into that and move forward through that. So it became really obvious that I was facing a lot of transphobia. And I knew that Los Angeles, when I would visit Los Angeles on the road, Los Angeles seemed to be a lot more trans friendly than New York. And I got a lot less flack, and it's also a lot cheaper here, or it was at the time at least. And so I moved to LA, and I was working with some pop musicians, and I was doing all right. I mean, from the outside, you would say that I was doing really well. I was
You
touring.
toured with Sia.
Yeah, she was the last artist I worked with before I got my gig with Transparent. We actually played the Hollywood Bowl in October, and then November, Jill Soloway hired me to be on the staff of Transparent. So I had to say goodbye to that portion of my career. But what happened was, even when you're playing for a pop artist, you're still a freelance musician and you're still relying on multiple gigs at once in order to survive. Um, so I I was really struggling financially, and I started to look at other areas in my life that I could really contribute. How could I be of service to the world? Like, where's my voice needed? And maybe that will lead me to where I'm supposed to be. And so I started writing. I started writing a stand-up comedy act actually, And in the
I
middle of
I heard
that,
that.
yeah, I think me being hired on Transparent was maybe the world saving the world from hearing my comedy. I don't think I would be very good at it, but I would have tried. Maybe, I
Maybe
don't
you
know.
should still try it sometime when we're allowed
Maybe.
to
I mean, I'm
go out and try it in person in a club.
I'll try anything once. So I had all this material written from this stand-up act, and then I met Jill Soloway, and Jill asked if I was a writer. And Ian Harvey, actually, who was an actor on season one, had nudged me to turn in a short story and to send that to Jill. And so I did. I took all the material that I had been working on and overnight wrote it into a quick short story, and then was chosen as part of a group of folks to take a workshop in screenwriting. And after that workshop ended, Jill asked me to come on as a staff writer.
And so you really became the first trans person to be working in a writing room in Hollywood.
Yeah, I hadn't realized that at the time. But I guess that was, or at least the first out trans person. I don't know if they're
Right.
folks living stealth or not. But yeah, that was a lot of pressure.
Uh, but I mean, look, it's segued from working on Transparent to Pose, which is just such a phenomenal show for so many reasons, and rightfully so has been given the accolades that it deserves. You're a writer and a producer on that. You went into that really bringing a lot of yourself into the storylines, didn't you?
I did. First, I mean, I feel like especially early in your career as a writer, you bring all of yourself into everything you do, and then eventually you begin to look outside of yourself. I think I'm in that place now where I finally might have excavated enough of my demons and put them onto your television screen for your viewing pleasure. Where now I'm actually leaning more into fiction, and and so that's been a fun change. Actually, it's a lot more fun to write now than it used to be because that can be really difficult. That self interrogation, if you will. Um, but Transparent certainly was a lot of my life went into that, including making sure that there were HIV positive trans characters. Both Shay and Davina are HIV positive, and I really insisted um, on that because of how disproportionate HIV affects the trans community. And on Pose as well, it's been a way that I've been able to not only reflect my experience as a trans person, but as a trans person living with HIV through Blanca.
Yeah, and it's phenomenal how you guys do this. Stephen Cannells was my first guest on Plus Talk when we launched.
I love Ian.
Yeah, we love him too, and I said this to him, and I say it to you as someone living with HIV. Thank you for humanizing HIV, not as the big scary grim reaper, but for what it really is.
Mm.
Finally, we're seeing HIV represented on our television screens in a way that is not the terrifying spooky ghosts and emaciated dying people everywhere, but is actually the true story of what happens and how people still get to be themselves and celebrate their lives.
Thank you. I'm most proud of that than anything in my career right now. I think anyone who knows me knows that I have a sense of humor about life, and I try to stay on the light side of living. And that's something I certainly wanted to put into all of my work, because all I had seen of HIV positive characters were um, people who were really, um, it was just very serious and very heavy, and um, there was no fun and there was no life. And certainly, in order to survive as someone living with any sort of um, disease or illness or sickness or virus or any sort of compromised physical state, you have to have a sense of humor and you have to have a certain lightness, and in order to get through how difficult the life is. And so that was something I had really embraced with the pause community when I first found out I was HIV positive, something that saved my life, and I wanted to make sure that that was also a part of these characters' lives.
Well, it's done fantastically. You are heralded as a trailblazer and a groundbreaker. Talk to me about what it means as sort of that person who's being, you are the representation. You've become this trans representation, HIV representation. What does it mean personally for people to give you that? I don't know, it could be a double-edged sword in a way. I guess it could be a huge compliment, but for a lot of people, it could seem like an incredible burden. What have you learned about yourself in these last 2 or 3 years where your career has really blossomed and you're getting to showcase so much of what you're capable of? What have you learned about yourself personally on this journey in the last few years with all this success?
I've learned that I'm an egomaniac if I allow myself to be.
I think anyone, right?
The red carpets, the award shows, it's a lot. And especially for someone who never felt seen on the farm, I like lapped it up and I've gotten lost in it at times where I have forgotten what my mission is, which is to really bring light and joy. And but anytime I forget, I'm slapped upside the head by life. And I mean, even this quarantine has been a huge reminder of what's important, and this fear of COVID-19 and the coronavirus and everything that it's brought up with me and my HIV/AIDS. It's really reminded me to focus on who I really am outside of all that hype, because the hype means nothing if you're not giving back to the world and if you're not doing something. So I don't know. I have to be careful with all that.
Well, we appreciate everything you're giving back to the world. Last question for you before we wrap this up and I let you go back to enjoying your quarantine weekend. What more can Hollywood be doing now, and can our industry be doing to show what HIV in 2020 and beyond really looks like? Once we get through this COVID thing, and I say it sort of flippantly like that because that's maybe my way of coping with it and not getting too bogged down in it. Do you know what I mean by that?
I think a lot's
Like,
gonna
I
change.
call it the COVID thing because I'm like, yeah, we'll get through it, and then something. But what should we be doing more so that we're not still living in 1984?
Around HIV/AIDS specifically?
Around HIV/AIDS, trans, any of these, as you've talked about, heavily stigmatized issues which cause people to just stay hidden in the dark closet feeling like they're all alone and that life's not worth it because no one will understand.
Well, I think one thing that Hollywood should be doing more of is breaking down the caste system, breaking down the barriers that separate the classes in our society. One thing that I really struggle with my relationship with Hollywood as a hillbilly is the glorification of material goods and everything that creates, whether it be envy, whether it be jealousy. There are a lot of things that Hollywood leans into that really go against my beliefs, and I find myself caught up in that as well. And I think the reason that it strikes a chord with me, or rather strikes a nerve rather, is that anytime you create an other and anytime you create an idealized, the other is going to be trampled on. And that's what it feels like often to be a trans person. It is to feel like someone who doesn't have access. And even though we live in, a capitalist society, it's not always that easy. And it's not always like if you work hard enough, you're going to get it. That doesn't always happen. And so to create these awards and to create this system that says you deserve this because you worked harder, therefore you have more value, really undervalues our lives. It undervalues our humanity. And so I think moving away from any reinforcement of class division is a really important mission that Hollywood should take on.
Yeah. Well, listen, I'm so glad you're taking on the topics you take on in the way you take them on through Pose, through Transparent, through your music. I encourage everyone to tune in Saturday, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern, Our Lady J's Instagram
and
account.
DM me requests. I will try to play What I'm doing is, if you have a specific request, please make a donation to a charity of your choice and just send me a screenshot of, you don't have to, you can blot out the amount or your name or whatever. Just send me a screenshot to show me that you've made a donation along with a song request, and I will do my best to perform that song for you.
There you go. Our Lady J, thank you so much. Stay
Thank you.
safe.
You too.
Don't
Be
get,
well.
yeah, listen, I'm happy sitting here in my house.
Okay, good.
But it's
Good.
been a real pleasure. Thank you for giving us this time.
You too.
And
Thank you.
and you're just
Thanks for having
fantastic,
me.
and we really appreciate everything you do.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
That's going to do it for this
Bye.
episode of Plus Talk on Plus Life. If you want more information on what we've discussed or any of the information about Our Lady J's Instagram shows, be sure to go to our website, pluslifemedia.com. You can follow us across social media at Plus Life Media. Until next time, see you later.